Lamine, Y-A-M-A-L, 16 years old, a left-footed genius from La Masia, and now the most expensive teenager in football history when Barcelona inserted a 300 million euros release clause into his latest contract. The football world paused, not because anyone thought that number would be met tomorrow, but because deep down everyone knew that number was protection, not permanence. It was a fortress built from fear, a warning to Europe's elite, and yet, despite its height, whispers have already begun to pierce through it. And one of those whispers is coming from Stamford Bridge. Because while Barcelona fans dream of a Messi 2.0, Chelsea Football Club is quietly watching from the shadows, not because they expect to sign Lamine Yamal tomorrow, but because they understand what most others refuse to admit. Football changes quickly, brutally, unexpectedly, and when it does, you need to be ready. At just 16, Lamine Yamal has shattered records that players twice his age could only dream of. Youngest player to ever start a match for Spain, youngest goal scorer in European Championship history, youngest assist provider in a Champions League knockout game, and perhaps most impressively, he's made himself indispensable in a club full of veterans, legends, and pressure. But what truly separates Yamal isn't the numbers. It's the way he plays. Like football is breathing, not performance. He doesn't run. He glides. He doesn't pass. He paints. And when he dribbles, it's as if the ball is obeying a magnet hidden in his boot. But Barcelona know what they have. And that's exactly why they locked him behind the kind of clause usually reserved for fantasy. 300 million euros. But here's the twist. That clause isn't as impenetrable as it sounds. According to financial experts close to La Liga negotiations, Barcelona's clause structure has vulnerabilities, especially if the club's financial fair play (FFP) situation collapses further. And that's what makes clubs like Chelsea quietly optimistic, because while the Catalan giants preach stability, their books tell a different story. The Chelsea connection. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Chelsea's scouting department, particularly under the new multi-club model, has been monitoring Lamine Yamal for over 18 months. Back when most Premier League clubs thought he was just a kid, Chelsea had already prepared preliminary data on how he would fit into an Enzo Maresca-style tactical system. Their findings: he's not just a winger, one club analyst noted privately. He's a blueprint for how football will be played in 2030. That's no small statement. And under Maresca, whose footballing DNA comes from Pep Guardiola's positional playbook, Yamal would likely be used not as a traditional right winger, but as a rotational creator, drifting into central spaces, drawing defenders out of shape, creating numerical superiority. Essentially, Chelsea don't just want Yamal, they want to build around Yamal. The 300 million euros clause, what it really means. Let's unpack this monster number. In Spain, release clauses are mandatory, but the 300 million euros figure is more symbolic than practical. It's designed to scare off clubs. It's meant to tell fans he's not for sale. But football doesn't care about declarations. It only listens to reality. And the reality is this: Barcelona are still under intense financial strain. They struggle to register new signings under La Liga's FFP rules. They still owe significant deferred wages from previous seasons, and if they miss out on key Champions League stages, that clause becomes more like a wall of glass than stone. Insiders at UEFA confirm that performance-based variables in player contracts can be challenged. If a club faces insolvency scenarios or fails basic FFP ratios. In short, if the situation gets worse, even 300 million euros might not be enough to stop a sale. And that's where Chelsea's long-term strategy enters. They won't go in with a sledgehammer. They'll wait, watch. And if cracks appear in that glass, they'll move with precision. The early warnings from inside camp news sources close to the Yamal family say the player is happy for now. But a few subtle concerns have emerged. Uncertainty about Barca's managerial future, discontent with how the club has treated other young talents, and Nico Gonzalez ebbed frustration about lack of guaranteed reinforcements in the squad. The increasing commercial pressure on Yamal at just 16. At one point this season, Lamine was forced to take part in 3 consecutive commercial events within 5 days. sparking rumors of friction between his father and the club's marketing department. He's just 16, and already he carries the weight of a collapsing dynasty. Barcelona love him, no doubt, but love in football is often tested by pressure. And Chelsea, well, they know how to wait for pressure to become opportunity. So as it stands, Barcelona holds the world's most valuable teenage star. A 300 million euros clause protects him, but financial cracks, squad instability, and quiet interest from Chelsea are forming shadows around the story. Lamine Yamal is still in Blaugrana, still dazzling, still loyal. But sometimes the brightest stars don't explode, they shift orbits. And if the right moment comes, if Chelsea senses hesitation, opportunity, or collapse, they won't hesitate to chase the impossible. Because as one source at Cobham put it, greater than we're not stupid, we're patient. And if Barcelona stumbles, we'll be there. Imagine this, a single ping from an encrypted email sent from West London to Catalonia, an official inquiry, a line that reads, greater than Chelsea FC, hereby request formal permission to discuss personal terms with Lamine Yamal. Unthinkable, maybe impossible, not quite, because in football, the unthinkable is often just a matter of timing. And if that email ever goes out, it won't just shake Barcelona, it'll shake world football. Why, Chelsea might actually move. Let's be clear, Chelsea aren't just daydreaming about Yamal. This isn't a wish list scenario. It's a strategic contingency plan, and it's already mapped out. Insiders close to Chelsea's multi-club scouting network confirm that Lamine Yamal is considered a Tier 1 strategic future target, not for this window, but the next 12 to 24 months. The club is reportedly watching for key signals before making a move. 1. Barcelona's financial status post-2025 champions. League 2. Yamal's contract renegotiation timeline. 3. Maresca's tactical system stability at Chelsea. 4. And most importantly, player mood, because the clause is 300 million euros. But Yamal's happiness? That's the real price. How he fits under Maresca, the tactical dream. So, let's say Chelsea make their move. What happens next? Football. Lamine Yamal might be the most perfect profile for Enzo Maresca's philosophy since he first left Pep Guardiola's side. Maresca's 3-5 in possession system thrives on wide overloads and interior. Creator Simon's ability to invert from the right flank, dictate rhythm, and cut in between lines is almost tailor-made for that picture. This, Yamal and Kunku Palma in the attacking triangle with Enzo and Caicedo behind Jackson stretching, defenders ahead you. Not just building a system, you're designing a football. Painting. Chelsea haven't had a true magician since Eden Hazard, but Yamal wouldn't just replace Hazard's flair. He'd redefine what it means to wear blue in the Maresca era. The Barcelona implosion now. Let's talk chaos. If Chelsea actually triggered talks, Camp Nou would tremble, not just because of the loss, but because of what it would symbolize. That Barcelona, for the second time in a generation, failed to protect a generational talent that the La Masia pipeline, long praised as untouchable, was vulnerable. That the Premier League, and Chelsea in particular, had the audacity to poach the new Messi fans, would riot. Papers would burn. Social media would enter meltdown, but beneath the headlines, there's something worse, doubt. The kind of doubt that spreads from dressing rooms to boardrooms. The kind of doubt that makes players question long-term projects. And the kind that makes other stars consider leaving too. Why would Yamal even leave? You might ask, why would Lamine Yamal leave Barcelona? His childhood club, his dream shirt. The shadow of Messi still in the rafters. But football dreams aren't built on romance alone. Yamal is already carrying a Messi-sized burden at 16. He's overplayed. Over HYPED. Over exposed. He has no natural protection, no senior backup. And if Barcelona continue to spiral financially, they may not even be able to register new stars to support him at some point. Loyalty starts to feel like weight. And if Chelsea arrive with a tactical Plana.com project less commercial, exploitation and the promise of playing with Palmer and Kunku and Jackson instead of carrying the entire team, it becomes not just a transfer, it becomes a rescue. Could Chelsea afford him? Here's the catch. Yes, the clause is 300 million euros, but experts say that number is negotiable under pressure, especially if Barcelona miss Champions League stages or face FFP breaches. Chelsea wouldn't pay 300 million euros in one go, but they could offer a structured deal with bonuses, performance clauses, and marketing add-ons potentially reaching 160 million euros, 200 million euros max with UEFA compliance. Plus, with Bowley's multi-club structure and global commercial reach, Chelsea could turn Yamal into a franchise, not just a footballer. Nike, EA Sports Prime, TikTok, Yamal isn't just a talent, he's a global brand in the making. And Chelsea, more than any English club, understands that game, the emotional climax and the storm it would spark. So now, imagine the world waking up to this headline breaking. Chelsea opened formal talks with Lamine Yamal's camp. Barcelona goes into meltdown.xavi, or his successor steps down. The fans chant betrayal. Lamine Yamal posts nothing, just a black screen on Instagram, and the football world realizes this isn't about money anymore. It's about power, narrative, timing, and if Chelsea pull it off, they won't just sign a footballer, they sign the face of global football's next generation, the kind of transfer that echoes for a decade, the kind that changes how young talent looks at loyalty, and the kind that finally replaces the legacy Chelsea lost when Hazard walked away, because every era needs a new icon, and sometimes icons are born under pressure. So if Barcelona crumble even a little and Chelsea steps in with calm, clarity, and courage, don't be surprised if the world's most valuable teenager turns his head. Lamine Yamal to Chelsea. 300 million euros was supposed to be a wall, but in football, every wall eventually cracks.